In the quiet village of Asokwa, deep in the heart of Ghana, lived a skilled coffin maker named Kwabena Adiu. He had inherited the trade from his father, who had learned it from his father before him. For years, Kwabena had been the go-to craftsman for the villagers when a loved one passed away. His coffins were made of the finest mahogany and carved with intricate Adinkra symbols, believed to guide the dead safely to the afterlife. For a long time, business had been good. But as fate would have it, times changed. The villagers of Asokwa were strong and healthy thanks to new herbal medicines introduced by a traveling healer. Months passed and nobody died. The funeral processions that once filled the streets became rare, and soon Kwabena's workshop fell silent. The sawdust settled, the hammer lay still, and his money dwindled. Kwabena tried everything. He lowered his prices, introduced new designs, and even attempted to make wooden furniture instead. But the villagers were not interested. Desperate and drowning in debt, Kwabena finally sought the help of a feared herbalist known as Nana Kwaku Bansam, who lived deep within the Oframazi forest. One evening, as the full moon hung in the sky, Kwabena made his way into the forest. The path was dark and eerie, with the sounds of crickets and distant hoots of an owl filling the air. He reached a small mud hut where a dim oil lamp flickered inside. Seated on a wooden stool, with a pipe hanging from his lips, was Nana Kwaku Bansam. "I know why you have come," the old man said before Kwabena could speak. His voice was deep, almost like a growl. Kwabena hesitated, but finally spoke. "Nana, I need help. My business is dying because nobody in this village is dying. I need a charm, something that will bring me customers." The herbalist laughed, a sound that sent chills down Kwabena's spine. "Are you prepared for the consequences of what you ask?" Kwabena nodded. He didn't care about consequences. He just wanted money. The herbalist mixed herbs, powders, and strange bones in a clay pot, chanting words in a language Kwabena didn't understand. Finally, he handed Kwabena a small black calabash filled with dark liquid. "Pour this in the village river at midnight. From then on, one person will die every week. But remember, you cannot stop it once it begins." Kwabena took the calabash and left, feeling both fear and excitement. That night, he did as instructed, emptying the liquid into the river under the cover of darkness. True to the herbalist's words, the following week an old woman in the village died unexpectedly. The week after, a young hunter collapsed while in the forest, then a pregnant woman, then a strong farmer. The village was confused. No one understood why people were dying so frequently. Kwabena, however, saw his fortune change. Coffins began to sell again. With every new death, he made more money, and soon he was the richest man in Asokwa. He built a big house, bought new clothes, and even took a second wife. But the deaths didn't stop. Fear spread across the village. People avoided drinking from the river, but still, one person died every week. The village elders called for a meeting. "This is not normal," said the chief, Nana Buakie. "We must seek help from the gods." A powerful priest was summoned from a neighboring town. After performing several rituals, he announced, "Someone in this village has brought death upon you all. The spirits are angry." Fear gripped Kwabena, but he stayed silent. They all dismissed after they left it to the herbalist to go once more and consult the gods, to know what was next, or better still, know who was responsible for this tragic act. One night, as Kwabena counted his money, he heard a whisper in his room. "You cannot stop it." He turned quickly, but no one was there. His heart pounded. The following night, he heard the whisper again, this time louder. "You cannot stop it." Shadows moved in the corners of his room, and the air became heavy. Then he started having terrifying nightmares, visions of the people who had died, their hollow eyes staring at him. One evening, he went back to Nana Kwaku Bansam. "I need to stop it," he begged. The herbalist shook his head. "You were warned. Death does not take back its gift." With that, he motioned toward the door. "Leave my shrine and never return." Kwabena hesitated, but the cold stare of Nana Kwaku Bansam left him no choice. His heart pounded as he stepped out into the dark forest. The air felt heavier than before, as if unseen eyes were watching him. Desperate, Kwabena tried to leave the village, but the spirits and fear of what might happen if he stopped would not let him go. For days, Kwabena was restless. The whispers in his room grew louder, the shadows in the corners darker. He saw figures in his dreams, people he had buried, calling his name, their fingers pointing at him in accusation. Yet, he could not stop. His greed was stronger than his fear. That night, as the village slept, he took another calabash filled with the cursed liquid and walked toward the river, determined to continue his deadly trade. He moved quickly, hoping to finish his ritual and return before anyone saw him. But fate had other plans. Unbeknownst to Kwabena, a hunter named Manu had been in the forest that night, setting traps for wild game. He had heard the rumors of mysterious deaths and the whispers of a curse, but he never imagined he would stumble upon the truth. Hiding behind a thick tree, watched as Kwabena bent over the river, pouring a dark liquid into the water. The wind carried strange whispers, almost like voices crying out in pain. Ya's blood ran cold. Kwabena stood up, dusted his hands, and turned to leave, only to find himself staring into the eyes of Manu. For a moment, neither man spoke. The river gurgled softly behind them, the only sound breaking the heavy silence. Then spoke, his voice low and sharp. "So it is you." Kwabena's heart jumped into his throat. You don't understand." "I understand enough," interrupted, stepping closer. "The village is dying because of you. You brought this curse upon us." Kwabena panicked. If told the village, it would be the end for him. He had to stop him. Without thinking, he grabbed a heavy stone from the ground and lunged at the hunter. But was fast. He dodged the attack, grabbed his hunting knife and slashed at Kwabena's arm. The coffin maker screamed, dropping the stone as blood dripped from his wound. Didn't wait. He turned and ran toward the village, his mind racing. The people had to know. Kwabena, injured and desperate, tried to follow, but his legs were weak. By the time he reached the village, it was too late. Manu had gathered the elders, the chief, and the people of Asokwa. When the villagers saw Kwabena, they erupted in anger. Women wailed, men shouted curses, and children clung to their mothers in fear. The chief, Nana Bwakie, stepped forward. His voice was filled with fury. "Kwabena Adu, is it true? Have you been poisoning our river? Have you been bringing death to our people for your own greed?" Kwabena fell to his knees, trembling. He opened his mouth to lie, to deny everything. But when he looked around, he saw the faces of the dead in the crowd, their ghosts standing beside their grieving families. He broke down in tears. "Yes, I did it. I was desperate. I only wanted my business to survive." A heavy silence fell over the village. The pain and betrayal in their eyes burned through him. The chief turned to the elders. What punishment does he deserve? Some called for death. Others said he should be exiled. But the priest who had been summoned earlier stepped forward. "No death can repay the lives he has stolen," the priest said. "But the spirits have spoken. They will take their own revenge." That night, Kwabena was locked in his own workshop, the place where he had built coffins for the innocent people he had doomed. He cried and begged for mercy, but no one listened. At midnight, a cold wind swept through the village. The whispers that had haunted him grew louder, turning into voices, angry, mournful, relentless. Then the door creaked open. No one saw what happened inside, but when the villagers checked the next morning, Kwabena Adu was gone. His tools lay scattered, his money untouched. The only thing left was an empty coffin, its lid slightly open, as if waiting for its final occupant. From that day on, no one dared to enter his workshop. The village river was cleansed by the priests and the deaths stopped. But at night, when the wind howled through Asokwa, some swore they could still hear the hammering of nails, building coffins for the dead that never rested. The people of Asokwa never forgot the tale of the greedy coffin maker who invited death into their midst, and to this day elders warn young men, "Be careful what you wish for even death has a price."